EA Sports has Clemson at 83 overall for this season. Before you get mad, you might want to say, this is the truth.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, and welcome to Locked On Clemson, this Friday edition of Locked On Clemson. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. On today's show, we're having some fun. We're going to talk about the EA College Football 2027 ratings. But we're not just going to talk about the numbers, because these ratings actually tell us something about Clemson, at least Clemson from a national perspective. Clemson has stars. We know that. We actually like a lot of the big names on the team. And I believe EA Sports and their analysts see that as well. Sammy Brown, by the way, we mentioned Sammy Brown going to the ACC kickoff. He's 90 overall, best player on the team. And tied with Heldt, 90 overall. Two top players on the team as far as overall ratings go. And guess what? Both of those young men are going to be going to the ACC kickoff. So did Dabo pick two guys that were going to be the best guys on the team going to the ACC kickoff? Well, looking back, according to EA Sports, they would say yes. Now, we did mention that they're not sending everybody. They actually went with the third person of OPH, Olsen Pat Henry. There were flashier offensive players to pick from, like TJ Moore, he's 89, Bryant Wesco Jr., 88. Those guys are up there in some of the best rated players in the country. And so there is respect for a healthy amount of Clemson players out there. Then overall, Clemson is 83, and that's where some fans are getting a little bit frustrated. Some saying that may be a little bit too low, and that Clemson's overall team has improved from last season, and maybe they're still getting some flack from last season, even though this roster is a lot different than it was last season. But, I mean, you can't ignore a 7-6 overall record. So is EA still holding it against Clemson for not doing well last season? Or are they saying, hey, this is actually what we think this roster is going to do for next season, or this is where they're lying? Quarterback, offensive line, secondary, overall cohesion. To me, that's where ratings don't fully, evaluate a team. Now, they did rate the quarterback, and we'll talk about that in this show. They did rate individual players, and then they kind of collect them into that group, and that's what the team overall rankings will get. But we want to see this team work well together under, Chad Morris, under Tom Allen. So what actually happens on the football field could be a lot different than what the ratings are, and should be a lot different, hopefully in a better way than a worse way. But the biggest question, I think, is, what do we think? What do we here at Locked On Clemson think EA Sports did as far as how accurate were they with ranking Clemson? To me, again, I believe EA Sports gave respect where the players who have shown it. It's not a situation where they disrespected Clemson's roster at all. Sammy Brown being at 90 does make sense. I'm sure it makes sense to you as well. Heldt being at 90 also makes a ton of sense. Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore being up there as some of the better players on the team also tracks. So not only are they good ratings, but they are telling us that Clemson's high-end players are matching with who we think are the high-end players for this season. So to me, all of it reads correct. Clemson has good players on the team. They have talent. The problem is that last season happened, but it wasn't because Clemson had no players. Clemson had a lot of talent on the team. The problem was that the talent didn't always show up. the talent didn't always have that motor, that drive, that motivation, that desire to play at a high level. And even if they did, the talent didn't come together as a cohesive, complete football team. And so that's where the ratings, mean nothing. That's the big difference. Individual ratings are great. It makes those guys probably feel pretty good about themselves. I'm pretty sure, looking back, Peter Woods and TJ Parker felt pretty good about themselves when they went and got the video game, and they were seeing themselves rated so high. But they didn't work well together last season, and so that's where the fall off was. EA more than likely is, to me, pretty accurate with being realistic about what the national ratings are for these players. Clemson has talented players, but they need to prove that they can put it all together. That's where the tension is for 2026. Sammy Brown, obviously, fans should look at him and say, hey, is he going to be a leader for this team? Well, he better be. Not only that, I mean, the only thing to me that would keep him from being a leader on this team would be simply being injured and not being available. Sammy Brown takes another step, then he is obviously up there in all ACC, all conference, all American type level, which kind of tracks, right? He's been a tone setter really since day one. And he's one of the better linebackers in the country when you look at overall ratings. So obviously there's some huge recognition for him and Clemson having one of the better linebackers in the country. Sammy Brown's physical. He's fast. He provides an identity for the team. Will Heldt does the same thing. He's viewed as another one of those faces of the team. That's why he's going to the ACC kickoff. He should be the anchor on that defensive front. And we, as Clemson fans, expect him to represent Clemson in a aggressive, meaningful way for the pass rush, and also to be a light to other portal players. That Clemson does value portal players. They do go after guys. They do ultimately become leaders on the team and faces of the franchise. I mean, straight up, it's not a coincidence. It's not because Dabo hates the portal that Will Heldt is going to the kickoff. So the whole narrative around all that should be dead at this point. And if Will Heldt plays like EA Sports is saying he's going to play, well, you have to feel good about the 1-2, the first and second line of defense for this team. Now, I know two guys aren't going to make up the whole 7 in the box. So that's where the concern will come, is how will all the rest of the 5 guys that weren't named, the 2 best players on the team, work well. That's kind of where the fun part comes in for next season, is to see exactly how this team will work together. It could be fun, but I say fun, but it also could be frustrating as well. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, as we've been saying all offseason, there should be no reason why Chad Morris can't get the ball into playmakers' hands. It is not because the cupboard is empty. Chad Morris has 2 wide receivers that are at the, some of the best on the team, really the 2 best players on the team, and ratings-wise, some of the best in the country. So it's not because the talent is not there. That's part of the reason why I think Chad Morris probably wanted to come back to Clemson and was so eager to do so. If you're trying to reset your image and get back to where you were, not only Dabo, but Chad Morris, you're not going to go to a team that is empty of talent. And that's exactly probably what Chad Morris was thinking about as well. If you and me were looking for a job in an offensive coordinator role, would we want to go somewhere where they have no weapons? I mean, that's kind of what happened when you think back to like DJU going to Florida State. When DJU went to Florida State, it was really a bad option for him because Florida State was void of a lot of those weapons. They did not replenish what they lost from that successful season. And so it made it much more difficult for him to have success. Whereas when you look back, he had the most success at Clemson because of the talent that was around him. Clemson's not being slept on when it comes to the highest of highs of talent on the team. They're not being slept on offense or defense. They have receiver talent. They have linebacker and defensive edge talent. They have a lot of upside. The ball has to get to them on the offensive side, and on the defensive side, those guys have to get to the ball. So they have to be involved, and it goes back to being available. And that's another reason why, if you're Chad Morris, you're thinking, this is great. This is a place where I can build, I can work around, I can just get the ball out of Christopher Vizzina's hands into those two guys' hands. It's going to be like, a monkey could do it. You know what I mean? It's going to be super easy. Same thing on Tom Allen's side. How can I mold the defense scheme to where Sammy Brown is able to get to the ball, where Will Heldt is not sidelined or pushed to one side off away from the ball? It's easy to kind of scheme around a defensive end, not as easy to scheme around a linebacker, especially Sammy Brown. You can go opposite of Will Heldt. So that's kind of where Tom Allen and really the rest of the defensive line is going to have to funnel towards him. If they keep trying to run away from Will Heldt, how are they going to funnel them to stop doing that? Clemson has weapons. They have opportunities to use those weapons. And Clemson's offense and defense has guys that you should be able to build around. But the question still remains, how will they work together with the top talent and the mid-level and even the low-end talent that have to mesh together? Because the team as a whole rated 83. So that means that on average, the rest of the team is not anywhere near Will Heldt and Sammy Brown and Moore and Wesco. The rest of the team is more 83 or less. So we have to look at that. Where is it being balanced out in a negative way or in a lower rating way? I think the biggest thing that we look back last year, at least from the offense and the defense, is they struggled to hide their weaknesses, and I want to see this season go forward of, we know we have elite talent that's going to get drafted again. We know Clemson has that. We know that they're probably going to have a more than a handful of guys going to the draft. But that other group of guys, how can they fit in? How can they funnel to the elite players and complement them without hurting the overall team and working well together? That's going to be one of the challenges. I'm excited for EA, College Football 27. That's the only reason I bought a PlayStation 5. I'm a big computer game, PC game fan, and I got everything on Steam except for college football. The one thing I don't have on my PC is college football. I got a PlayStation 5 for that, and I actually haven't played my PlayStation 5 in forever. So, and I just realized as I'm saying this, the dog chewed up my controller 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to have to get a new controller. It's kind of a bummer here to think about it. Not only if I want to play college football, but if I'm going to get GTA pre-order on the PS5, then I got to get a new controller because, the only one I have is destroyed. So I got some thinking to do in this off season as we get prepared to buy these games and to get ready for the 2026 season. The team, though, I do still believe is in a good spot. We've been debating all week. Some of you have been laughing at me. I know maybe not always Clemson fans, maybe the non-Clemson fans. But the team has potential and talent to be able to win more games than you may want to give them credit for. That's what we've been talking about all week. And it kind of, this EA Sports thing supplements the idea that they do have that talent there that they should be able to utilize going forward. All right, hey, stick with me. We're going to continue segment 2, talking specifically about the offense right here on Locked On Clemson. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment. One goal can completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. Now, FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals, more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. That's what I love about these tournaments. I went to some of the seafood restaurants. They got bars there. They've got these games on. Man, everybody is glued in and engaged. You can turn on a match between two teams that you don't have any idea. I wasn't following Iraq and France, and it's been 20 years since I even been in Iraq, and I don't want to go back, but I'll watch them on soccer. Suddenly, one goal changes the outcome. Not even just a goal, but the weather changed just in an instant in Philadelphia, and all of a sudden, goals started raining down with the rain. The tension builds, and so you can get invested extremely quickly when it comes to these international matchups. And now you get the benefit every time a goal is scored, from the opening whistle to the final kick. Let there be goals. Go check it out on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Get your daily Clemson fix completely ad-free by joining our Everydayer Club today. Start your 7-day free trial right now and get closer to your team without the interruptions. Click the link in the show notes or go to lockedonclemson.supercast.com to join today and claim your free trial. Segment 2, the offense, because Clemson fans can argue all day about, whether or not Sammy Brown should be a 90, 92, 95, whatever it may be. They can argue whether or not Will Heldt is up there as one of the better players on the team as well. We can also debate over whether or not TJ Moore, Bryant Wesco, which one is better. But the debate is not really at the top. When you think about it, when you look at this, the real debate is what the ratings are saying overall. And I think EA is asking the same kind of questions we are. Clemson has weapons, we know that, but can the offense get the weapons the ball? Or are they going to forget about them like they did last year? TJ Moore, 89 overall, talent's there. Bryant Wesco, 88 overall, ceiling, high level, it's there. Two players, obviously, by name alone, make Clemson dangerous. The defense should be stressed out. They should be able to create explosive plays. Chad Morris should be able to have real answers in the passing game. But the receivers can't throw the ball to themselves. Receivers can't block for themselves. Receivers can't call the plays for themselves or identify pressures and checkdowns and set protections and keep the offense on schedule. That's where the big question lies. Christopher Vizzina, the offensive line. Chad Morris, the rhythm. That's where Clemson has to prove that, they're more than just the top level guys, top heavy. Because this game is not about Clemson, not having great playmakers. The game for 2026 is, can Clemson have the structure around those playmakers to get them the ball and be good enough around them? Structure, key word there. Cities can have beautiful buildings, great restaurants, exciting attractions. But if the roads are broken, if the power grid's unreliable, if the traffic is a disaster, the city cannot function. They don't have that glue keeping them together. And the glue is the rest of the players on the team and the staff. This is Clemson's offense. The attractions are there. What puts your butt in the seat is there. Bryant Wesco puts butts in seats. TJ Moore, butts in seats. The talent is there, but the infrastructure, the backbone, the stability, the reliability of the offensive line, the quarterback, those are things that right now the whole offense has to figure out and has to prove to us that they have this fall. That's why Christopher Vizzina's ratings matter to me a lot and worry me. Mid-70s. Now, I'm not saying Christopher Vizzina is bad, but when you look in the 70s, for example, that's typically what you see from a rookie. from a freshman who's a highly rated freshman, but has proven nothing. I think Christopher Vizzina deserves more respect than that. But I can't deny the fact that he is unproven. There's a big difference there. I believe he has the tools. He has experience inside a classroom. He's flashed when he had his opportunity against SMU, but we don't know what he really is and what he can become. We haven't seen him over a full season. We haven't seen him run the offense day in and day out, week in and week out. We haven't seen him in the good times and the bad times, in the good weather and the bad weather, in the home games and the away games, making decisions when it's not easy. Clemson has the weapons, but they need the consistency, specifically from their leader. If I were building the game, I'd probably put him somewhere in that range as well. Not disrespectfully, but reality. If he starts out fast, then you know how they do these games. They'll do roster updates. They'll do rating, adjustments. If he plays well against LSU, if he looks comfortable in the new offense, if he gets the ball to the playmakers like we want him to, if he can protect the ball, then he's quickly going to be an underrated player or a misrated player. But right now, there's cautious optimism, and that's exactly where Clemson is with Christopher Vizzina. And the caution and the optimism didn't go away. It actually was added to it, considering they're not sending him to the ACC kickoff. And it's not just Christopher Vizzina, it's the offensive line as well. This is a position group that we've been talking a lot about over the past couple of weeks, and for good reason. The offensive line right now may be the biggest reason why Clemson can't win 10 games. If the line is bad, then the season goes sideways. If the line is good, then maybe they have that opportunity to get back to double-digit wins. The receiver room is exciting. The quarterback is a question. The offensive line is a question. And those questions can't be answered from a video game. Biggest thing for this season is you don't want to get through the year and continue to be frustrated because your offense can't get the ball to the playmakers that they need to. And that's what we're worried about in a lot of ways. We need Clemson to be able to get the ball to the playmakers' hands. We need Clemson and Chad Morris to find a way to make offense easy for Vizzina, blocking easier for offensive line, the run game easier for Gideon Davidson, Chris Johnson Jr., and David Ezeamume. I believe Chad Morris can do it. That's exactly why Clemson brought him in. Clemson has talent. Clemson can be good. Clemson can even have an opportunity to win 10 games. But they have to earn it by playing well together. Hopefully we can look at the end of the season and say, you know what? They underrated half this team. And 83 was a joke, and 74, whatever, for Vizzina is a joke. Hopefully we can look back and say that that is true and that the ratings are still very silly. But it's going to be up to this team to prove EA Sports wrong. We'll continue the discussion about how they're going to do that and go back to that overall rating of 83 and talk about, is it disrespectful or is it more accurate than we want to give credit to? When we come back in the Everydayer Only segment, segment 3, right here, stick with me, Locked on Clemson. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales to accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing the software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about the talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. I mean, that statement alone matches up exactly what we're talking about in this show. This team is very well put together as far as individual talent, but it can't be all siloed amongst the talented guys. They have to be able to work well together. Great organizations win because of their infrastructure, because of their operations, and because they put them a priority and they matter. And that's why you should go check out Odoo. Get Odoo. Try it for free today at odoo.com/locked on. That's odoo.com/locked on. All right, welcome back in segment 3 of Locked On Clemson, what I lovingly call the everydayer only segment, because anybody who makes it to segment 3, I call you an everydayer. You are an everydayer. You know, most of the casuals stick through for segment 1 and 2, but not you. You stick through to segment 3, and it really means a lot to me. A lot of you have mentioned in the comments recently about how, it must be tough to do a show day in and day out and continue to keep the hype going. And I got to be honest with you, it is tough, and you know that, and I will say that up front. But you make it a lot easier by showing up and being an everydayer for me, and encouraging me, whether it be in the comments or likes or messaging me over on X at the Morgan T Show. It means a lot. And the good thing is that the off season is almost over. I mean, we're about to roll into July, and we're going to continue our discussion. And as a lot of you have mentioned, you're looking forward to those rivalry or those behind enemy lines, looking at the opponent shows that we did last season, and we're definitely preparing those as we speak. So it's pretty awesome to be a part of it. I look forward to a 2026 season with you. So thank you so much for being an everydayer. Let's finish up the show, though, and talk about that 83 overall rating. Is Clemson disrespected by 83? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's disrespect at all. I think it's reality. Is it low? Don't really think it's low either. I don't think it's disrespect. I don't think it's low. 83 overall for me is probably what I would do the same for Clemson. It's not that Clemson is irrelevant. It's not that Clemson is falling behind, but it is saying that Clemson has a lot to prove. And to me, that's fair. After last season, you don't get elite treatment anymore if you're Clemson. That's the uncomfortable truth. Clemson fans remember what the program was and where this program was, and it hurts still. National game contenders, ACC title contenders, playoff appearances over and over, elite quarterback play, elite defensive lines, many first-round draft picks, double-digit wins, feeling like it meant basically nothing and was automatic. Clemson getting national respect from even opponents on game week. But 2026, none of that's matching up. You can't borrow from the past anymore. The logo, obviously, still very, very highly respected. The history, the head coach, the resume, very respected. But eventually, the current, the here and now, has to show up and show out. I listened to this pilot Instagram today, and it was talking about this student who couldn't, land properly, and the person said that they clocked in, but they didn't lock in. They showed up for work, but they weren't ready for work. And that's what 2025 was. They clocked in, but they weren't locked in. And 2026 has got to do everything but that. They have to clock in and lock in. I'm going to start using that a lot more. Hopefully not too much to where you hate me for saying it, but I like it. I'm definitely going to use it when I'm doing my flight instruction. But not an insult for Clemson to be 83 overall. They have talent. They have to show it. And that's the whole thing. That's the honesty around Clemson for 2026. This team doesn't need video game ratings to validate it. I'm not saying that that's what this show is all about. But this team does need a good September. It needs to match up with LSU well. It needs to match up with Miami well. Needs to be effective and successful on these road games. The offensive line's got to put up or shut up. The quarterback's got to play on schedule. The secondary that's been revamped has got to prove to us that these new names are good and they work well together. Those are the things that matter to me because the EA ratings don't win games. We know that. They are great talking points. I know you're going to love it that I made a show about this, but it's not really what wins games on Saturdays in the fall. The perception of Clemson, though, is still very, very important. People do respect Clemson. They respect the players on the team. And that is kind of why I want a lot of those very pessimistic fans to take a step back and say, Clemson is still very respected. Now, will they get back to where they meant to be? I mean, look at history overall. Alabama's not the powerhouse they used to be. Georgia is not the powerhouse they used to be, at least from a fact of they're not going to national championships or top 4 playoff appearances year after year. Clemson was, Alabama was, but they're not doing that. It's not going to be like that anymore. I truly believe this new era of college football is going to spread the wealth out a little bit better, and they're going to be teams that get hot and just have the right group of guys to work well together. And honestly, this whole situation with the ratings and everything does put everything into perspective for us. It is the correct way of looking at Clemson. Clemson has stars. They have players that put butts in seats, as I mentioned. They have opportunities to be successful. They should be able to raise a lot of those ratings, but the questions are still there. And, it's like a house, got a beautiful front porch, great kitchen, new floors, big backyard, but the foundation may not be what you see at first glance. How's that foundation? How's that wiring? That's what I'm wondering about Clemson. They have value. The house looks good. It's got a lot of potential, but I don't want a broken foundation. I don't want the wiring to be missing or messed up. If we're going to pay top dollar for Clemson stock, the inside and outside, the stuff you can see, the stuff you can't see has got to be in order. And that's what I want to see for Clemson in 2026. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Clemson. EA Sports has Clemson 83 overall. Let me know what you think. Is that disrespect or respect, or could you care less? I'd love to get your thoughts and concerns and emotional outbursts in the comments of this show. Make sure you subscribe and follow to Locked On Clemson wherever and whenever however and whatever you get, wherever you listen to podcasts, and also on YouTube as well. You can find me over on X in between episodes and at the Everydayer Club. Get your Clemson fix with the Everydayer Club. Start your 7-day free trial today to get closer to us here at Locked On and other Everydayers as well. LockedOnClemson.supercast.com. For those of you watching on video, I'm going to send you over to that 24/7 YouTube channel. And on audio, take a second and listen to Locked On College Basketball or Locked On Braves. Again, I know every time I mention this, they lose the game. Maybe I should just stop mentioning it. But thanks again for making Locked On your first listen of the day and of the night. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow. Yep, I'm going to do a show Saturday and Sunday this week because I had some days off due to some travel. So I'm going to make it up for you. So I look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.